This is Politricking
On record, Tshidi.
with Tshidi Madia on EWN.
Hello, welcome to Politricking. It's episode 9 of season 6 of a politics podcast brought to you by Eyewitness News. Now, if you're not aware, I want you to be mindful of the fact that we are headed towards local government elections. I think for me, local government is actually the sphere that matters. It's where you and I actually engage government. It's where you and I can actually feel, touch whether the government works for us or doesn't. So I do want to have a series of conversations with mayors. So you're going to start hearing a lot of mayors coming up on the podcast. I'm starting with my own mayor. Yeah. I'm saying it. I live in Ekurhuleni. I always talk about Ekurhuleni. I love Ekurhuleni. I'm a dissatisfied resident of Ekurhuleni. We all complain about services. That conversation, I think, is important. The state of our cities, our metros, our municipalities have to be part and parcel of the conversation. If you remember the President's State of the Nation address, they speak about the white paper. They speak about local government being part of the next sphere of Operation Vulindlela. They've got to get it right. I don't know if I'm the only one who gets frustrated about the state of the roads, uncut grass, all of those things. So those are part of the conversations I want to be having. I will be having. So you'll hear more and more mayors as we move towards elections, because you must also make decisions about whether or not these people have served you well enough for you to endorse their political parties going forward or not. Right? So I'm joined in studio today by Doctor. You might know him as, make sure you start at Mayor Doctor. You might know him as Nkosindiphile Doctor Xhakaza. I generally just know him as Doctor. Hello, welcome to Politricking.
Thank you very much, and let's appreciate this opportunity. Must say it's a maiden opportunity. Podcast.
There's no need to flatter me.
What must I do? I must try. I must give. You did indicate the character. Try to make the interview as less formal, as interactive.
No, I don't want to. I want a conversation. Oh, yeah. I just want a conversation. Not even a conversation with my mayor. I want a conversation with Doctor, who just so happens to be the mayor of a city that I reside in.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
I must say, people generally know me as a doctor. In the streets, I grew up being called a doctor. It's only in the classroom. It's only in the classroom where they would say Nkosindiphile and my parents. So basically, it is my name.
I know you as Doctor. I always refer to you as Doctor. Yeah. And if you're comfortable, we'll continue. There are people who are name changes. You are comfortable being Doctor, okay? So we'll continue in that vein. It's been a year on the job, just over a year. Let's speak about the reflections. I mean, it is a big responsibility. It is a difficult time in the country where we are definitely in coalition terrain. Being at the helm of Ekurhuleni, one of the metros that we always talk about, quite negatively actually, when we speak about the coalitions in the province. Being at the helm for over a year, what's that been like for you?
Well, it's been a journey, but I think for me, we get to work. We really get to demonstrate and showcase some of the experiences, the investment that the ANC, our communities, they've made, in us. So basically, we get to have that opportunity to turn things around. But of course, being a leader of the ANC, it doesn't matter what happened in the last 2.5 years. Our communities still believe it has been the ANC. So you must actually be accountable, for even that period. Some of the things that have happened in 2021 since the elections, some of the changes that have been introduced, some of the projects. You stay in the south. As you enter Vosloorus, you enter Pedemarais, beautiful human settlements projects that have been built, nice, walk-ups that, they were left abandoned. You have to be answerable. Our communities, they don't say there's been a gap. They say, oh, you ANC guys. So that is, areas of challenges to actually explain and take up, responsibilities for even those that have served before you.
You've already faced the motion of no confidence in just under a year. Did it surprise you when there was a bit of a motion of no confidence brought against you?
Well, I mean, these are politics of collision. Collisions are very interesting. Parties, they put up, all sorts of demands. We did say in the 12 months, we've been able to turn around the city for the better. One of the things that we're able to do is to stabilize, council and ensure that, councillors, they understand what is the impact when there is no stability. And they have greater conversation to actually formalize and have something called some coalition framework. It's more or less a coalition agreement to actually agree what is a common program that we're doing. What are some of the values as a guiding principles that we have to subscribe to? Issues like accountability, issues like, the rule of law, all those attributes. You'll have to bring them in so that there is some framework. I mean, minimum things that as coalition parties we actually agree to. What are the performance scorecards? Those type of conversation, and we believe that we're able to do that. Chances, they will still want to take chances, but importantly, we're able to put up systems for service delivery, ensure that communities, they know where to report. If there's a water leak, if there's electrical outages, but they also have confidence about those platforms, that they can use them, that there's leadership that oversight them, but more importantly, there's a feedback mechanism. Do we go and have community meetings? Things that were no longer taking place, where to put them back and ensure that we go to communities, our mayoral outreach programs. The entire leadership is visible every Fridays, but importantly, we have communities in Bizos and councillors. It's mandatory that they must have those monthly meetings. But we had to lift up certain things. The finances of the city, we had to ensure that we actually push and turn them around. I mean, you would have heard about some of the shortfalls that we took them up. We have to instill some consequences. But also, just on topic of the economy, we hosted the investment conference where we lifted the Retropolis once again. To over 22 billion investment pledges that we've been able to showcase in terms of our manufacturing capabilities, our Retropolis opportunities, including township economy. And these are the things that our communities, they've been missing. But lastly, where to build capacity. How do we build institutional capacity and ensure that we've got the right skill? But where we also change a bit of a culture. You've seen some protests with the EMPD, where to move in over reliance on overtime, people who do not work during their normal 8 to 5. They are not, but only after they want to go and do the work, so that they activate what you call standby and overtime. But over reliance on contractors, on contracted services. Okay. We employ people, but they have to be doing the work, but instead contractors are the one who does the work. So we must optimize, the internal capacity and ensure that we use our people at best. So some of the things, that is what we've actually put before our people in the state of the city's address. That is why the motion of no confidence could not carry through, because councillors were able to apply their mind that indeed there has been a turnaround and it will not assist to change this mayor, the mayor of the ANC, Nkosindiphile Doctor Xhakaza, because he has put up a program and is a visible program. There is impactful service delivery. There are greater conversation, things that our communities, they've been missing since 2021, because we must agree, nobody expected the ANC to lose elections 2021. In the leadership of past leadership of Mzwandile Masina, very clear programs that we're doing. Issues of the university, there was no longer a conversation on the university. Issues of bursaries that our people used to, all those programs.
Okay. You're giving me a state of the city address. That's not what I asked for. So let's go back again.
No, well, I was just trying to explain why the motion failed.
No, I'm not convinced.
Was nothing else. We did indicate that it was a frivolous motion sponsored by one-man party, by the way, who happens to be a former COO in the city, who at some point we had, put before, it is there out there, cancel had preferred consequences on him. So we were talking about, as a one-man party, we must also look at coalition, what they've brought. We're all accountable.
You've got to give me a chance because we'll unpack all those
No,
things.
I'm saying I'm accountable.
I want to get to that point. I want to get to
they ask about renewal.
Allow me
so
to
we
guide
are forced
you.
to.
It's okay. We're on my podcast. Allow me to guide you where we're going.
Thank you.
I'll come back to services. I'll come back to smaller coalition parties. Let's go back to that motion of no confidence.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily satisfied with the answer that you're saying to me that the reason why you survived the motion of no confidence because there's a realization that stability is required. All those things are really wonderful, and I don't know if they're factual. That's where I'm struggling. The EFF didn't assist because you've had this weird relationship with the EFF.
Well,
but from my understanding, please allow me to finish. From my understanding, you did go to the leadership at national level of the EFF because when the motion of no confidence was being put up against you, you had some from your very own caucus wanting to support that motion of no confidence. There were ANC councillors willing to defy the ANC when it came to your fate. It was the assistance of the EFF that helped you survive, was it not?
No, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure where do you get that report that says there were ANC councillors who wanted to participate.
Because I've spoken to those councillors. I would have got it from the councillors themselves.
Well, mention one.
I'm not going to do that. I'm a journalist.
You see,
that's sources.
that's a thing.
That's sources.
It's those sources that are faceless. You can't therefore say it's factual. Let me put it before you that there would have been a bit of unhappiness from certain ANC branches, ANC members, ANC councillors about the current relationship in the main with the EFF. So those councillors, those complaints date back. Remember, one of the things that would have been an issue since the formation of the coalition or an arrangement with the EFF was that the EFF doesn't have wards, and therefore that they do not seem to be, paying attention to some of the outcries that the councillors have. For instance, one of the issues was that the DA-led government, which changed budgets drastically, was backed by the EFF in 2021. Those conversations are still there. How can the party that backed DA to take away budgets, 75% of the budget from the 80% of the wards that are in township, and that 75% is now being spent in the 20% of the wards that are in suburbs. So that type of a conversation, the councillors were saying, look, we do not have anything to showcase to our communities because our IDPs are not funded. And therefore, it becomes a greater conversation in terms of the arrangement. How do you still have this arrangement? You have a minority mayor, you have an EFF that is leading a finance, a portfolio, and all that. And we had to go through that process. It was now the second mayor. Into the third mayor, the conversation was that let's now see, those changes. For instance, I would have kept the MMC of finance into the function when I was appointed. And everybody was saying, look, change the finance portfolio. We kept it until we had to make those changes in July. After the budgets that were now being presented before councillors were not responsive in terms of the IDPs of our people. That's why we had to effect, some of the changes.
You're moving ahead. Yeah, I'm struggling with you because you keep moving ahead. I want you to come back to what...
Now, our councillors...
let's finish the issue of the motion of no confidence. I want us to take issue by issue. Otherwise, I'm going to take you back all the time.
I'm trying to give you a context in terms of where some of the unhappiness comes from.
From ANC councillors.
From ANC councillors is that, some of the challenges that are found in wards, and they would then attribute it that the EFF had a contribution indirectly because they would have supported the DA-led governments. But they would also influence the minority mayor. So they believed that the EFF doesn't have wards and therefore they do not feel the pressure that they're actually feeling in the wards, which is a conversation and it's actually got nothing to do with them not having a confidence in their own mayor.
We've seen the letters by Jongizizwe Tlabati with regards to that factor, but you are admitting now that what you do recognize is that even in your own cohort, there was some unhappiness within the ANC.
We-
So that kind of, I don't want to dwell on it too much. I do want to move forward.
Yeah.
Did the EFF help you beat the motion of no confidence?
Well, we're in an arrangement with the EFF. We have 86 seats, 86 votes. We need another 27 votes to defeat any other motion. But you also need to be in conversation with other parties. In this case, is the EFF and and not just the Super Seven. Including the Action SA, which would have supported, or rejected this motion of no confidence. The IFP would have done that. ERASA would have done that. So it's not just the Super Seven, but
Yeah.
also 9 other parties
That
that actually did so.
How do you manage? How do you manage that relationship with the EFF, considering there was that issue where you removed Dunga, Nkululeko Dunga as finance MMC? Julius Malema made the threat that if you don't reinstate them, they will go withdraw from everywhere. They don't, because they need to also remain in government. So their threat was empty from the start. But there's always been this assumption that at any given moment you will walk away from the EFF. And that's something that they also seem to feel. So how do you navigate things like the threats of emotional no confidence with an EFF that you supposedly consistently threaten? Because there's a view that you prefer to work with the DA. That's something I've heard quite often, and not just in Ekurhuleni. I hear in other metros that it's the province that doesn't want to work with the DA, but at local government level, some of you are quite open to working with the DA, yourself included.
There's been a conversation about what does it mean, what type of coalition we must form at local government level. Is it ideological orientation that must inform, or is it a pragmatic, solutions base? And that conversation has been about policy orientation that at local government really is about us attending to basic services, ensuring that there's consistent, water, clean water, and that when there's leakages, you quickly close them. You cut the grass, you close the potholes. So there's not much of a ideological policy framework except a pro-poor stance, historically advantage, type of conversation to address or redress, some of those aspects. Now that conversation is still ongoing, and I must say that at the point where I was elected, that conversation was actually strong on the ground. We believe that what happened in Ekurhuleni would have influenced, including the GNU, some of the dynamics that were happening in Ekurhuleni. I was elected unopposed. Even the DA elected not to put the candidate to actually allow, because everybody had agreed that the outcome of 2021 elections were a shocker to everybody, and they have contributed to regress in service delivery, and to turn around the situation. We need to have a frank of conversation, take out our political caps, and actually put our people, the interests of our people before us, and attend to it. So I'm trying to say that conversation, it was very strong, and including when we had to remove the MMC of the EFF, it was very strong on the table. But of course, it was overtaken by events, because suddenly there were conversations in Gauteng in terms of the relationships and all that. We respect our leadership. We respect the national leadership, the President Ramaphosa, Malula and collective. In Ekurhuleni, we're a strong supporter for the collective. But we also respect our provincial leadership. We believe in Panyaza's leadership. So from time to time, we have to reconcile, some of these issues, and ensure that, we whatever that we do, we also take the interest of our people. And I must say, there's been a lot of events that then have taken place. Okay. Conversation at national level. You would know now the stance of the DA on some of the policy issues and all that. So we'll have to be sensitive in those things. So say, what type of a formulation do you do, and what is it that our people, they will actually see out of you? And they will have to follow, because coalition are actually a national and provincial, purview. They are not necessarily our own purview, but we get
Guided
consulted.
from above.
Yeah,
So
and all
does
that.
so what you're saying is based on what's happening now, the DA is challenging the Employment Equity Amendment Act. The DA has taken expropriation to court. The DA successfully took VAT the budget, the VAT increase to court. That makes it difficult for you to now go back and think about working with the DA at local government level. Is that what you're saying?
But I'm saying those conversations, the number of conversations that have actually happened, they've actually, overtaken, even our submissions that we'd have made to the provincial leadership, to the national leadership. We have to find a way to make the current arrangement to work. We've put it before the provincial leadership and the national leadership that the EFF must, agree to a coordinated way of governing. For instance, the Systems Act are very clear. It is the mayor that has got executive powers. It is the mayor that appoints the members of the mayoral committee, and it is therefore the mayor that must provide leadership, consistent leadership to the members of the mayoral committee, including issues of performance. So the mayor must be allowed to, to exercise that leadership to ensure that the team pulls together. If we say we're going to do service delivery outreach, everybody on Friday, they must be in communities. All 10 members of the mayoral committee, they must be there without fail. Not one of them must say, we are doing our own program, because that is what our communities, they do not want. They've preferred this arrangement through their vote. We got to make it work. And there is a mayor who's a final, arbiter in terms of, accountability. I have to get the team to pull together. If communities are complaining about grass cutting,
We're going
it
to
should
speak
not
about
be
services.
about this and that.
Kawara, I'm a community member, but then we'll get there. So what you're saying to me with this is that the door is closed on the DA. You're not going to go backwards. You're going to make EFF work well with you no matter what. That's the current standpoint.
Well, where we are, we've made our presentations, our options. We went through the coalition, the vote on the motion. The DA did come through to say, look, let us work together. We want to take the legislature. We take the executive. But we then said to them, let's have a proper conversation about it. And those were the local guys. But also the local guys are still subjected to the provincial and the national leadership. And some of the dynamics at the level of the province, you can imagine some of the dynamics at national, at the time when the motion is on the table. And at national, there's also, difficulties. So let's agree that let's see through this process and see that there is actually a commitment, because what we want now is to focus on our people until the end of term. And
The
what
DA
it
has a
means.
view. I'm not done. We'll come back to the people. I'm the people. We'll come to the people. The DA has a view that the only time the ANC seems to have a conversation about working together is when there are contentious issues, when there's a vote on the table, when there are problems. That's the only time they say they feel the let's work together conversation happens. So that suggests to me that they believe the ANC is disingenuous. That the ANC, when it says let's work together, it doesn't mean what it says to the DA. It's playing games.
No,
Your reaction to that?
We've made few proposals, even to the local guys. And I'm saying at the time, even when we made a decision to remove the MMC of the EFF, because at the time we were sure that we had lost 4 months, not able to get the system there to run the manner in which we wanted it to run, because there was a lack of cohesion and coherence. So we had to make a decision. And that decision caused a bit of an outcry. The president of the EFF, as you said it, he was firm that he wants, my decision to remove the MMC to be reconsidered, and which is something that because there were facts on the table, and there are still facts on why we had to act in the manner in which we acted, and we're ready to actually take the city forward. And as I've indicated to you, a number of events have actually happened. They've sort of overtaken. In politics, developments happen, and those
Yeah.
developments they actually influence
That's very true.
what ought to happen. But I must say, conversation again on the collision, they sit at the level of the province, at the level of
Shame, you've said
national.
that so many times.
Yeah.
I'm
I don't
clearly
know.
refusing to hear it. Let's speak about services now. There is a view, and I find that this is the view that speaks to me the most, that there's a disproportionate focus on political games in the city versus the actual job of providing services to citizens. Is that a fair assessment of what's going on?
No, it won't be a fair assessment. In fact, it's the first time that I'm getting
Really?
that.
From
that
a
that's-
resident who says, we don't think your focus is on us, the focus is on the gimmicks, the focus is on fighting over service providers, the service is over the issue of managing MMCs with ward councillors from different parties. It's navigating each other. The focus is managing coalition politics.
Now, I must say that that could be a fair assessment because since 2021, nobody expected what we're actually having at hand.
I also don't agree with that.
You should agree.
You didn't expect to lose at elections?
No, the ANC.
The ANC.
We've done a wonderful job in Ekurhuleni with all the programs that we've
Doctor,
actually
the
been
grass
doing.
is not cut. Even there, where the great Chris Hani lies, where he's laid to rest, Thomas Nkobi,
No, I'm saying
the grass even there is not cut.
I'm saying where we come from.
Our roads are
where we come
in a
from.
terrible state.
See, let's agree that where
Our
we,
clinics,
no, where we come from, we must turn around the
there are
tide.
no street lights.
We must turn around the tide because what happened in 2021 was a big shocker for everybody.
It's
And I'm saying-
2025. 5 years later, you're still
I'm
struggling with shock.
I'm just a year in the office. Must turn around, 3 or so years of a mess within a button. And we must first stabilize council because if council is not stabilized, and I'm happy now because everybody knows there is a mayor who's given a role, by the people of Ekurhuleni through council, of course, to go and lead. And we're providing that leadership. How we're handling just a revenue shortfall, where in the absence of leadership, officials, they go and change, meter reading system. They changed them. It was before my time. I must go there and fix it. And to fix it, is actually going to take a bit of time because
It was even before Nkululeko Dunga's time, if I'm correct, the issue around the revenue shortfall. In fact, there's actually a lot of questions I have because it goes back to the wonderful NC-led government,
No, it doesn't
coalition
even-
government
it
during
doesn't
your
even-
period.
no,
Does it not?
It doesn't even go there.
It doesn't go that far.
We presided over a financially sustainable city, and there was no issues of any budget shortfall. Programs that we're doing were all funded. The reservoirs that we're building in the city of Ekurhuleni, the bursaries of our people,
I want you to focus on the revenue shortfall. Let's speak about this
I'm
issue.
saying the system would have been changed in July 2023. A system that was perfectly working, right? Generating 95% of revenue collection. Now, what it means, just to simplify it for you, the energy department is charged with providing electricity to our people.
Yes.
So what it means, they give you the reticulation of energy. They also build a meter into your house, into industries. Industries are quite complex, but let's use a house in this instance. In your house, there is a meter box, and then this meter box is being read remotely because nobody comes and do all these things and all that. It's being read remotely. Every month, somebody read the meters and then take whatever that they've read, they send it to finance to bail. But there's also other activities that happen. They must actually audit to check that are you actually what you are consuming, has it been consistent? Because if you are a household, Tshidi, you'll agree with me that we must monitor that you have not breached or tampered with the system and all that. So there's various other things that they do. Suddenly, that function used to be done by energy. ICT moved in, take over the function. and then they now take it over to actually do it. You'll agree with me, probably they argued we have a best solution, or automating,
Maybe,
or
yeah,
ICT, and all that, which is not a wrong thing, because we want to digitize.
Yes.
Want to bring technology
I'm in
and
agreement.
makes it easy. But agree with me, if you are taking over a function that has been working perfectly, you now do it in whatever form, and then it results in huge revenue leakages. There's a fundamental problem. Someone must
With
account.
just the one person. But in
don't
with
say-
the one department, hold on. As you're seeking to hold somebody accountable, if I'm correct, a suspension has come from one department, from the IT department. Is that it?
Yes.
Why is it then? Because for me, in a situation like this, if there's an investigation, you're trying to figure out what's going on, do you then not deal with the IT department, the energy department, and the overseer, which is the finance department?
No, I mean, you would not do that. Remember, when you prefer consequences, it's a very sensitive. You are dealing with senior managers. There's
Sure.
legalities.
Yes.
I can't just come to you and accuse you for a process that you are not responsible
No, you're
for.
investigating. You
No,
put
I'm
everybody in
saying-
suspension to
No,
pause
you won't
to
do that.
investigate.
No,
You can't do that?
There must be prima facie. You must then say what justifies you. I can't say on the basis of a feeling.
So when people are suspicious,
and they say
it's okay.
no, I can't say in this room and
It's
say
okay,
all
it's
of you
okay.
because you are involved. There is you. There's
all of you might
there's
have a
producer.
footprint. Please give us space to investigate.
No, I'm saying there's
nothing
producer.
wrong with that.
No. If no, it doesn't work like
All
that.
of you have a footprint
No,
somewhere. Give us
you-
space to investigate.
No, you would not.
There's nothing wrong with that.
You will collapse the institution because you're gonna expose the city to litigation, and you're gonna also affect operational efficiencies because you can't just go around and what do you call it as if we are in a kangaroo type of an arrangement. It's a highly regulated environment. You have to
I get
ask,
what you're trying to figure out what's going
no,
on.
we appointed the MMC of Finance in August last year. One of the tasks we gave him, please look into this issue. Effectively, he spent more than 4 months, 4 months, pulling out the teams, investigating what is happening, who did what at what particular time. What was our role? Energy. Energy says we used to generate 97%. This function was taken away from us. In fact, we told them, here is a letter. We wrote it to them, we told them, please be careful as you take over this function of 1, 2, 3. In fact, we're proposing that as you take it over, do it gradually over time.
To avoid
and so forth
mishaps.
and so forth. Now, all those things were disregarded. Now, how do you then call that person and say, I'm putting you on a suspension? What you do? What you do? You then say, give me a report on your role.
Yeah.
Because I can't say on your role, you give me a report on your role, then I want to find you at fault. I will be collapsing the institution. But the next thing that I will face is a court challenge because senior officials, it's a highly legislated environment. You are dealing with professionals that you can't just drag them because there is a feeling that you must actually drag them. But I must say that a report is still going on council on the 2 officials as well. Because
So we're not there yet. We might actually find that we actually might have to suspend across the board. We don't know yet.
No, I can tell you now. I mean, I'm the executive mayor. I can tell you now there's nothing untoward that we're taking to council.
And you're not worried. You're not worried that at a later stage we'll look at this chapter and realize it was mishandled.
Look, what we're doing, we've now appointed a forensic investigator to look into the issue. The forensic investigator will look at all these issues, including, all these reports that are before us. What is your role, CFO, in the revenue leakages? CFO tells you, I don't put a meter, I don't read a meter. I get results every month. Energy or now ICT guys, they tell me, see, this house consumed so much. And then they tell me, why is this consumption below her normal consumption in the past or what we've budgeted for? Then ICT, they will say, but CD has implemented innovative energy solution. She's now using solar, for instance. It will be ICT or energy that will know those issues. So, and then and the CFO will then bill and give those reasons, to cancel, because the CFO is not there, for instance, when that business is being run. In the business of water, the CFO is not there. In the business of waste management, the CFO is not there. When you cut the grass, when you go and book a stadium or a hall, it is all these departments that are responsible for end-to-end in terms of their function. Now, you must then appreciate with me that those who run to the media to peddle certain things, they've got platforms to respond to. We've given them a platform. Come and respond. Here is a platform. It's not going to assist to go out to the media and run all these campaigns that have been happening on Twitter and so forth. I think it's a waste of time. We're trying to be focused. And it is very difficult to put consequences on a senior manager. I mean, for the longest time, communities are complaining that we're not effecting consequences. Where we effect consequences, we're dealing with media campaigns. We're dealing with even our own councillors, to actually go to councillors, 224, to get them to agree to suspend. It becomes a mission. Some of these motions, where they come from, how they are sponsored, and so forth and so forth. It's a complex...
what does that tell you, though?
No, I'm saying to suspend a person. What we need
I hear that. I want you to go back to
what I'm trying to say.
Conflict that you face at council.
The point that
and
I'm
I want to
trying,
understand, what does that tell you?
the point that I'm trying to put across is that, can we get support when we effect consequences? Can all the municipalities get support? Because it's the right thing to do.
Why is it a hurdle?
No, it's a hurdle because all these things that we have to go through. You must now deal with Twitter campaigns funded to drive a wrong narrative in terms of what we're doing. Why can't Twitter...
Where does that come from? That's why I keep asking you. Even now, when you say all these things where you face resistance from your own councillors, I want to understand, where does that stem from?
2 billion money that is being, consequences are being preferred on. It's a lot of money. We will get to the bottom of it. Joel Nechitenga said, dealing with the state capture. There's a very famous quote.
The beneficiaries of state capture.
Beneficiaries of state capture will not go down without a fight. And you must agree that the beneficiaries of a rot, they will not go down without a fight. And what we're appealing for is our communities to be with us. Media and all other role players, they must support the mayor to effect consequences, because the sum amount of it, Tshidi, is that we pay 2 billion to Eskom, but we don't get that 2 billion from our communities. The sum amount of it is the speed within which we cut the grass gets to be affected. Because take it in your household. If you don't have 2,000 in 1 month, it means certain services you're not going to be able to pay them.
But now, by that virtue, by that comment, then should we not be worried as residents? Because we are seeing less and less in terms of services. That's our concern.
I'm saying
we're seeing roads that have been dilapidated for so long.
We're preferring consequences.
Yes, you prefer consequences. I hear you.
We did give a report.
I hear that loud and clear.
We did give a report.
I'm hearing you, plus hear me.
Yeah.
Ne? With all of that, while you're trying to fix the system. Ne? And I love the household example that you use, because if the money's not there, you can't do you can't deal with the tasks. And then I say to you...
That's why we're suspending people.
Residents are saying to you...
Can we be supported to suspend people?
As you suspend people...
Can we suspend and expel the rot? Where there's a rot,
the services aren't being
decisively
delivered
to fix the city.
What's going to be... How do you sell yourself to residents?
Can you imagine if the motion has succeeded?
Doctor, please let's hear each
other
other out.
Can you imagine, Tshidi, if the motion has succeeded, it means another mayor who must come in, probably who must go and conceal. Because this is a former...
You say we'll conceal.
And conceal or disregard the current issue that we're dealing with. We're dealing with who preferred the motion.
So in your eyes, are you the only person there
we did
who
say
be able to actually wait?
You have a former employee who was at a particular point suspended, who is now a councillor. When the mayor is moving, act out of anything else prefer a
That's
removal
the
of
culture
them.
that's been built there. I said to you,
Now, what's
is
standing
a
against the
priority,
culture?
not politics over people. I asked that.
Now, I'm
I
saying,
asked that earlier on.
where we are.
I want you to speak to me about the roads. There's so many issues.
Let me just bring you
We're
closer.
going back and forth, and it's such a waste of time
This is
because
the
the
era
hour's
of
going to be up.
consequences. Let me tell you,
Okay.
all the projects that are idling are standing there idling. You know, when you enter Jimiston, just
Yeah.
before you get to the office of the mayor, on the other side, there's a court, there's a police station in that government precinct.
Yes.
There's a beautiful project there as part of the government precinct that has been lying there idling.
Do you know as you take the
Are you-
N3,
are you-
hold on, do you know as you take the N3 and you're off ramp at Rand Airport and you turn right, there's a massive road sinkhole that's forming there? Are you aware of those things?
I'm aware.
And it's been that case for years.
But you need money to
I've listened to
close the
call,
sinkhole.
and that's the thing. It's been
Are you
that
aware?
case for years.
Tshidi, you
Yet
agree
the
with me?
accusation, let me finish.
Tshidi,
Yet
agree
the
with me?
accusation is the budget for roads, only about 3% of it has been used. And you ask, how's that possible? When
No.
you look at the roads and the potholes and the sinkholes in Ekurhuleni, you go, how's that possible? How is it that things are stagnant? And then you're told there are constant fights over contractors.
No, who's
What?
fighting?
That's
Who's
what people.
fighting
That's what. These are things coming from council.
Politicians are not involved in contracts.
So the politicians in council who observe that this is what's happening, they are liars.
We're not involved in the.
But it's their job. The opposition's job, right?
No, in
is
the
to keep an
selection-
eye on what's happening. So they're lying.
No, I'm saying by legislation,
Yes, I hear.
councillors
I
are
hear
not
legislation.
supposed to go to.
But they're supposed to play
procurement,
oversight.
Yes, you play oversight, and when there is no movement, you prefer consequences. And
Doctor.
if you go to roads department,
Is this is this the message you're going to be taking to voters next year?
no, we're turning around the city.
Is that we've done nothing because we are busy looking for consequence management?
I have a year now in office, right?
That doesn't become
In
an
a
excuse. And
year.
you said that yourself earlier that citizens will go, but you ANC, they're not going to say, doctor, you've been
I'm
in
saying
office
to
for a
you,
year.
we're turning around the tide. Safe to say, there is a rainy seasons that have gone beyond what we've actually budget. We budget for rains to run until end of February, March. But you'll agree with me, the rains have actually gone beyond that time. It's a fact. Rain has got an impact.
Gauteng.
How many times do you cut the grass, Tshidi? Probably when it's a rainy season, you cut it every week, right? See, rain. I mean, Tshidi, agree with me.
No, I'm not going to
that
agree with you
if
on
you budget,
anything.
if you budget to cut once per month, and that is what we've actually said in the State of the Cities Address. Let's now increase the frequency, cut 2 times per month. But we're turning around the tide. We're focusing on cutting the grass, on closing the potholes, but importantly,
Street lights.
yeah. Well,
Are you satisfied with the level of waste management in the city?
Waste collection, we do round collection. It's every day, the door-to-door without fail happens. The truck comes, it collects. But what we must now fix is the model within which we do the waste collection, because we do it on the assumption that every house there is one family, and a 240 liter bin should be enough, to cater for waste produced by one family. But if you go to, in particular in our townships, there's backyard dwellers, one house, there's 3 other families. And it means then the model is something that we need to be looking at closely to say, how do we make sure that it is more effective? We collect, we don't leave anything that causes illegal dumping. But other challenges is landfill sites, which we do not have enough land to actually ensure that we dispose. We do need to look at landfill sites that are closer to our communities, but also look at waste to energy, some of the green initiatives to actually assist us to deal with the issue of waste. I think there's another issue that you've spoken about, streetlights.
Yes,
We're struggling with the problems of vandalism, third-party interference with our infrastructure. It's not just the streetlights, it's the robots, it's the traffic signals. It could be vagrants, it could be people who are dealing with this stuff who goes and scrap metals, but we're even suspecting some bit of syndicates that because it's targeted. You
you
fix
said to me
one,
before.
fix the street lights, they come, they vandalize them. Now, including the robots. I mean, it costs about 250 to about 500,000 rands, depending on the size of a robot. And if it gets this weekend is knocked down by people who are happy, who are coming from their weekend activities, they have accident, they collide with the robots, we fix it. The other week, they steal some of these things. We must also look at alternative technologies. What type of robots do we build that is resistant, that is able to deal with this type of issue? So those are some of the conversations that you will agree with me that we need to have greater conversation with our communities to show them what type of challenges that we're dealing with. But we are confident. We're on a good way. We know what needs to be done. And we're happy that Council has given us a bit of a time to deal with those issues. When I live here, I'm going to Tembisa, just behind the hospital, and a human settlements project that has been abandoned since 2021. It's about 9 of those projects that have been abandoned. We're going there now, we're cooperating. There's something called DDM, District Development Model.
Yes, of course. The president
In
speaks about it a lot,
Ekurhuleni, they've actually rescinded that resolution that talks to the DDM. They went to council meeting, they said, we're rescinding it because they do not want a cooperation with the provincial and national government, which is something that Premier Panyaza has actually raised to say it is better now when we have mayors that can cooperate. We're now cooperating because some of these things we do need the province and the national to actually assist them. So we will be unlocking that human settlements project. It's called Tembisa 25, just behind the hospital view. It is meant to benefit over 6,500 beneficiaries of Tembisa. Now, we're giving hope. And I'm saying practically, these are some of the things that we're doing. We've fixed indigent, we've fixed, debt rehabilitation. Tembisa banned at some point. We've had greater conversation with the communities of Tembisa because it's a community that pays. It's the only township that pays 100%. And we need to be closer to them to actually encourage them to continue to do so. And we're on a good way. I'm just mentioning Tembisa because I'm going there
No, that's fine.
today.
I'm worried about time because I'm now running out of time, but I want to touch on a few things. The last thing before I speak about the politics, because we cannot have a conversation without speaking about ANC. Kagiso Lerutla, I think, that's his last name, the CFO.
Yes.
There's an impression that people have that he's politically protected and that he's pitted to become the next city manager. I just, for the record, want your thoughts on those claims.
Kagiso Lerutla is the competent, qualified official of the city. He's a chartered accountant. We recruited him. He's a qualified chartered accountant. He was recruited in 2014 from Auditor General, where he was doing audits of municipalities. He joined the city to head governance and compliance. He then went up to head procurement, and then he became the CFO. He's got back-to-back clean audits behind him, and I would not know really why there must be this type of targeting. Whether we're dealing with the 2 billion, people are saying, but why are you not bringing him into the question? On every issue, why must a competent, performing young person be dragged into the mud? And I think it's something that we must not allow. We must protect the officials who are doing well. Where there's an issue, we act. I must tell you, we do not have all the officials in the city. I have spent time. I was MMC of Finance, of Economic Development, of Water and Energy. I know them. I've worked with them. But if we must prefer consequences, we do so. Where in the ICT we prefer consequences. I've worked as a MMC of ICT for 5 years. But when I have to act, I acted. Now, I'm saying bring me issues where I must act, but don't tell me that I must collapse the environment. We do not want to pronounce on the future city manager because we currently have the city manager. Of course, there's a transition, but we have the city manager. So there's no vacancy until we've advertised. And the decision to employ a future city manager will be done by council.
Yeah.
And any of the qualifying professionals that we have in the environment will be free to apply, including those from external.
Okay, let's quickly speak about ANC. You are the convener. You know, it's interesting for me when people talk about you as mayor, they say you have a hammer style of leadership, that they almost think you still lead thinking that the ANC enjoys the majority, which it doesn't. When people speak about you to me about your role in the ANC, many have just said it's a complete failure, that you're going into the second term of the regional task team without actually having convened a conference. I think that there is a deadline that you're now working towards. This term of office is about to expire again. So they look at that and say, but this guy has no capacity to lead the ANC in the region based on what we've seen thus far.
Well, I mean, we must be decisive as leadership. You can't be, people are not clear where you want to take the city. In the midst of collision, in the midst of consultation, but you can't consult forever. If people are worried about you are leading as if you've got, majority of, we've got 86. We need another 27, but we consult with everybody. But we can't consult forever. Agree with me. We are putting a pressure now. We are saying our communities, they want grass to be cut and all
Hell
those things.
yeah, we do.
So you can't be in conversation
We want services.
forever. We need decisiveness.
And then on the ANC front, when people feel you're incompetent?
Well, I mean, the ANC has got its own processes. It's a democratic movement. It is established, unlike any other party, processes in terms of electing leaders. And leaders in the ANC, they are not instant. It's not like where you put a yeast, then there's leadership. Leaders are produced over time. That is why we can tell you, if you go to COSAS, when we were leading in Tembisa, go to my high school in Tembisa in Masqakas, go to a primary school, you can track what type of a learner and so forth. Did I participate, not just in politics, not just in COSAS, but in developmental program. I used to lead a Masakane feeding scheme program, for instance, in high school. Now I'm saying, over time, SASCO, my leadership at the tertiary level, I chaired the youth league in the region. I've led the youth league. I have been, so I'm saying where we are now, Tshidi, we are ready to go to a conference. We will be calling our branches. The coordinator should actually write and invite branches so that we then share with them the roadmap to a conference. We've been affected by elections because when we go to elections, we're told to stop everything else. When we were appointed, we're given 5 tasks: unity, renewal, rebuilding, focus on the election, focus on government. We've been able to take over government from the minority of minority leadership. Mayor, we're leading government. We just had a conversation now about that. We focus on the elections. We focus on the unity and renewal program and rebuilding. We now have all the structures in the regions are ready. One of the conditions that the national leadership have put up, because they said we don't want structures for conference. We don't want a structure that is created for conference. Before you take a structure to conference, make sure that they attend political education, the foundation course. We aggressively rolling out the fund. We're sitting at over 80% of our branches, 112 branches that have attended the different topics under the foundation. But also taking ANC to the communities. A branch must demonstrate that it is living amongst communities. Do they know what is happening? Have they done the audit of the infrastructural standing in the communities? What is the social profile? How many are the indigent? And so forth. And those programs, we'll have to look at them before we even show our readiness for conference. We are happy that we are on track. And the issues of membership, renewal, not even focusing on new members, renewal. Go to the members that are already existing and ensure that they come back to the ANC. We've done that.
So you're not in
we are
favor
ready.
of those who are asking for the provincial national leadership to restructure the RTT? You think it's unfair, it's premature, you're almost there?
We're going to conference now in June. We have until July. We have 9 months. We have until July to actually convene a successful conference. We must abide by the recently pronounced programs. The NEC, they've been on campaigns to say you can't go through a conference if you have not satisfied some of these preconditions. It's not just a issue of membership. It's a membership that must be conscientized. They must understand what is the ANC and what is community activism.
I'm almost done. Do you enjoy the protection of the so-called seven dwarfs? Are you a special project of the seven dwarfs?
What is a
You know,
seven
you know exactly what I'm
no,
talking about.
No, I've never heard about that one.
You'll find out soon enough.
Seven dwarfs.
You'll find if you don't know about it, you'll find out.
No, there's not
There's
such
no way
a.
you don't know about it.
Let me tell you, we serve at the behest of our structures. We serve on behalf of our region, our membership, and we must go to our structures and ask them. It is not me who goes and say, I want to be elected. It is our structures that must have a conversation. But we are from a difficult conference in the ANC.
It got violent.
Yeah, it was
the Ekurhuleni one got violent. That was set aside. And of course, 2022 itself, 2017, 2022, those are the people, there's fear. I'm running out of time. That's my stress. But there is fear that the next conference will be the absolute end of the ANC. There are people who don't favor even at a national level, the ANC having a contestation saying, actually, there must be an agreed upon outcome. What is your thought? What are your thoughts?
I mean, where we're sitting, we think we've got national leadership. They've emphasized renewal, rebuilding program. They've put up programs to actually support that work. Ours is to focus on providing that leadership to our regions. And so far, we're working well. We are supported by the province, the leadership of Panyaza, Lesotho, Comrade Hope, that has given us, he's just been appointed. He has been to our region about...
Should there be contestation at the next ANC National Conference? Should there be agreed upon leadership?
Our focus now is that in the region we must minimize contestation. Of course, it's part of what they make the ANC to be a dynamic organization. When there's contestation, a unique organization where you know you are being kept in checks and balances, and you must forever perform. But we think we're on a good way to get a conversation in Ekurhuleni where we actually share responsibilities. And if we manage that aspect well, it will certainly lay a foundation what must happen in the upcoming provincial, including a national conference, because Ekurhuleni is not, it's quite influential in the politics of the ANC, and it's historic. All the great leaders, they've spent time there. Whether it's Tambo, whether is Comrade Chris, those who, whether is the current leadership, whether it's Mandashe, whether it's Monju Kungubele, whether it's Mzwandile Masina, whether it's Panyaza Lesotho. So agree with me that the task at hand.
It's a 10th province for a reason. We are great.
There's
no question. Are you going to put your hand up to be a candidate for the ANC for the next cycle of local government elections?
Well, I mean, the elections are still, we're not talking elections now. We're still focusing on the work at hand. We must go through this conference.
You can't give me a direct answer.
We must go through this conference.
I'm not willing. I want it.
Once we deal with the conference, let me tell you now, our people, they have hope. They can see this is the ANC that we want. The ANC is back. All what we need to do is to sort out what is currently some of the hurdles that are there in government, turn them around for the better. And I'm sure that track record going forward will speak for itself in the next election. We want our people to come out in their numbers, and they must come out and vote correctly. And it's only the ANC that has got experience, that has got a clear program to actually take the cities around. Coalition have proven that. Go to any other cities, it's very difficult. We do need to go to these elections and win decisively and give back, the wonderful work that we've been doing. When we enter Fosloras, all the vision, when you look at the entrance there, Perimares, some of the work that we've done there to actually open up access to our township. Because when you open up that access, you are even open up the economy of it means you can leave your suburb there and just go and enjoy some chisanyama in Katlehong at any given time.
Thank you.
To a car wash, fix your hair and all that. It's part of township economies. Our people are missing that.
Thank you.
And they were on our way to actually fix it.
Thank you. There's something about the ANC and delusions of grandeur that will never go away, no matter how hard-hitting or how painful the decline is, ANC leaders still believe that they are the answer. I don't know. It's up to you to decide. Thank you so much, Mayor.
They've invested so much in us.
I can't say goodbye. I'm trying to say goodbye to the Mayor. Thank you so much for your time, Mayor.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
This is Politricking
On record, Tshidi.
with Tshidi Madia on EWN.